Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share insights on what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fumey, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the founder of Gigworx, Matt Alvarez. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me today, Frank.
Matt, I'm looking forward to our chat. You are a brand new franchisor, so that is super exciting for me because we have so many people that listen to our show that are just getting started in franchising. And we get to hear your story and what you're excited about and what the challenges are in franchising. And let's get into it and start. First of all, what is Gigworx and how did you even think of the idea?
Yeah, so Gigworx is an app-based staffing company, kind of like Uber for work. But we work with local staff members and local businesses and provide local support, not just a kind of tech play somewhere in the cloud. We started in 2018. I was working, in a resort town, a ski town, Big Sky, Montana, working for a developer and had a background in staffing as well, but had done a host of other jobs within this community. And I saw the challenges that businesses had finding people when they need them. It'd be seasonal ramp up. You'd have very busy times and slower times. And there was no sustainable way for people to find staff when they needed them. It was always kind of this, hey, buddy, what's your roommate doing? Do they want to wash dishes? They want to come help with this remodel project, right. Or your husband's going to come help be a bar back. And we said there's really an opportunity. This was also around the same time that you had mobile staffing platforms coming into existence, and started to really look around and say there's an opportunity here. So kicked it off there in my basement. Some of the first clients we had were construction contacts that I still had from my previous life. And I remember one of the first groups of staff that we found, I was coming back from a meeting at like 2:00 on a Thursday. I went by this local bar and there were 5 guys outside playing croquet. It wasn't that kind of bar. It was kind of an odd sight. And I just went over and said, you guys look like you need something to do. And that was really how we got going. That was our first start, put them to work, taking down a glamping operation up in the mountains.
Wow. So what are the typical jobs though that are on Gigworx?
Yeah. So, we like to call them kind of plug and play gigs. We partner with a lot of different companies, well-known, recognizable brands, Safeways, Albertsons of the world, Marriott Properties. It's a lot of things that people can say, hey, I want to go to work on Friday. It may not be, my dream job, but for $25 an hour, I'm happy to go, work doing housekeeping. And that's usually kind of our entry level thing. And then things work all the way up to, working in admin positions that are longer term gigs. I don't know if you're into fishing at all, but Sims is a big fly fishing brand based here in Bozeman, Montana, right down the road from us. And we have 3 or 4 people kind of working in their office in the corporate setting. So really runs the gamut. We will, work with different businesses, explore their use case and see if there's a way to help. I mean, we have such a diverse group of people on, the service and on the app. It always amazes me what we can actually provide for businesses.
Right. So, of course, my initial thought is, okay, what is the difference between you and like Upworks and Fiverr? Like, how do you compete with those big boys that have great SEO and I'm sure their Google ads are putting them right to the top? So how do you compete with them?
Yeah, I think it's how we marry that tech and touch and having a local presence. Again, we're W-2. Mm-hmm. There's accountability. There's a little bit more than just a rating system of how many stars and kind of the things that you see on a platform. We bring people in, we interview them. We screen them and do background checks because we're sending these people into someone's business. As a franchisor, as someone who's a business owner, I understand the responsibility we have there, how much they're counting on us to give them good people. They can't take those risks. So I think our quality and having that local presence, and again, it's brick and mortar and it's face-to-face. They are there interacting directly with customers as well. So I think it's a lot different. I love Upwork. I use it all the time. It's great if you need some marketing collateral done quickly and to send it over. I'm not that great with Excel. I'll farm that out all day, but I'm not going to, have client conversations sent to Upwork.
Okay, that's fair enough. I imagine again that's probably one of the first things people probably ask, like, okay, what's the difference here? Why? So you have one location right now in Bozeman, Montana. We're expecting to open 3 franchises in 2024. So I want to get into this. I love that. First of all, you and we chatted a little bit before the podcast, and we talked about going to the Springboard conference. So I want to kind of get in your mind of what was it like going to Springboard as somebody just getting into franchising? What was your big aha? What were some of the nuggets that you got from being at the Springboard conference?
It was such a big mindset change for me. I really had to shift my thinking from being just this business operator. And, I still love what we do at Gigworx. I still kind of inject myself into the day-to-day meetings and calls and trying to lend advice. But Springboard made me realize that franchising is so much different. I mean, you were really there as a franchisor to support this next generation of leaders within the company. And you probably remember this. I can't remember his name, but there was a gentleman who had a very successful tutoring company and sold this brand and was talking about this new brand that he had started. It was like eyelash bars and fake eyelashes. And, I kind of wondered to myself and probably out loud a little bit as well, like, what does this guy know about lashes? It was completely different.
Sure.
And it dawned on me that it wasn't about that. It was about being there to support a new business owner, helping them succeed. And that was a big mindset change for me, that it wasn't about just the day-to-day. Sure, you need to understand that. You need to understand your business. But the key is being there to support those people and make sure that they're successful.
Yeah, because as you came to find out, your business is just the vehicle that you're using. At the end of the day, our job as a franchisor is to support franchisees. It's that franchisor-franchisee relationship. Make them profitable. You want them to be profitable and happy. And it doesn't really matter what vehicle we use or what we're selling. It's basically all the same thing.
Absolutely. I think, one other thing that I really found was it's a great community of people. I've been to staffing conferences and it can be kind of cutthroat. Nobody's talking to each other. Nobody's sharing tips. And people were so welcoming. You're new, welcome. Any questions, nothing's out of bounds. Just let us know. We can help all we can.
Yeah. Well, if you go to a conference that's led by, Lane Fisher and Brad Fishman, it's not going to be no boring staffing conference by any means.
Absolutely.
It's going to have a different energy, as you saw. And it was great. I enjoyed it. Now, I had not been to Springboard ever, even though I've been in franchising for 20 some odd years. And I went because I kind of wanted to see, like, what have I been missing? What's changed? For me, I saw things on the opposite end of the spectrum where I couldn't believe how many new resources there were for emerging franchisors. The amount of technology and just the amount of things at your fingertips is so much more readily available for new franchisors that were just really available, for the big boys 20 years ago. It gives you the ability as a franchisor to really hit the ground running hard. And I thought they did a phenomenal job of hitting that message, like you're saying. They hit it straight on, and that we understood why we do what we do, and that it comes down to franchisee profitability. It has always been that way, but understanding that you are really in a new business altogether.
Certainly. No, I think they did a great job, and again, made it so approachable, even kind of poking fun at themselves, using AI to craft their new music videos for that season.
Of course. So would you mind being so vulnerable to share with me and the audience, when you left Springboard and you think about being a franchisor, what are some of the challenges? What are some of the things that you think about? Like, okay, these are the things that I really need to focus on in getting Gigworx up to speed or up to par that maybe wasn't where it was before you went to Springboard or before you started out.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly as an emerging franchisor, the biggest question mark you have is this a proven concept? It's not like we've got 25 successful units that you can point to and it's easier to sell itself. The importance of the founder too. I mean, You're the person who had this vision, who created this business. Can you communicate that effectively and help others be successful? And that responsibility as well really hit me. You heard that over and over from different people in the franchising world who had done it so long. And it was, at first I was kind of like, okay, it's a little hokey here, changing people's lives. But if you're entering into this relationship with a new franchisee, you better believe that. I mean, they are putting their faith in you, in your belief, your concept, and you need to do everything you can for them to be successful, because It does. It has the ability to impact their lives for the better or for the worse. And you better take it seriously. I think
Absolutely.
that was something that landed with me.
Yeah, I could tell you, speak firsthand that when I started out, I thought I was in the sports business and I didn't realize I was in the business of making people successful and changing their lives until it actually started to happen. And I could truthfully tell you that it is incredibly fulfilling to make that much of an impact on people's lives, that the idea that you came up with and applying all of what's necessary in building your organization allows people to truly change their lives and be independent business owners. And in many cases, you'll probably find it's their first time being in business. And I'm going to go out on a limb, Matt, and probably share with, remind you that you're going to find that most of the franchisees, it is going to be, because of their first business, you're going to find yourself doing more business coaching than training on running a staff agency. And that is, for me, I did not think of that initially. I thought, okay, I'm teaching people how to run, in my case, sports leagues. And I quickly found out, oh my gosh, a lot of these people had never run a business before. They had never ran a P&L before. They had never staffed before. All these things were like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was suddenly, calling an audible at the line of scrimmage going, okay, I need to fix training. I need to kind of readjust how we're doing what we're doing. And then life truly is never the same again once you do those things.
No, you take some of those things for granted that you did in the early days. What do you mean you don't have a great relationship, with your, work comp agent
Right.
and fostering that? There's so much more behind the scenes and letting go what's, right out in front of you too, and making sure that other people are empowered enough to take that over so that you can focus on the behind the scenes happenings.
True. And it's, the delicate balance that you're going to find with being that franchisor is that your franchisees are obviously independently owned and operated, and you're there to support them. And there's going to be times where some people need or want more guidance than others. And most likely your first franchisees, your first dozen, are going to be more adventurous. They're going to be bigger risk takers because they're taking, more of a chance. But those people are going to set the culture. And we've all been down this road. I think you heard of it at Springboard, that the hardest thing to do is turning down those first few checks when people say, I want in, that they absolutely have to be the right person and believe in your culture.
No, I couldn't agree more. We are so focused on doing it right. That's part of the reason we're saying no more than 3 units this year. Yeah. We want to be able to support them and have them be successful, and really say that this is what it can do for people moving forward, and then maybe next year, if we're feeling up to it, we take on 5 and we start to expand at a different rate, but we got to get it right. And we have to support those folks. To your point, set that foundation too. We want them to talk to future candidates and talk about their experience and echo our culture and what we believe in at Gigworx.
Yeah, I think that's it's a great strategy to open as many as you're comfortable with, because if you open too many, the problems just, they're exacerbated. I mean, it exposes you. So I think that's wonderful. So you founded the company in 2018 and you just started franchising now. I'm curious on, when did you decide franchising was right for you and why?
Yeah. We always had this goal that we wanted to take Gigworx nationwide. We wanted to grow, we wanted to scale. And like many businesses, we wanted to codify our process. We wanted it to be proven and, repeatable. But I think there was something that really hit for me with franchising, that we would have somebody who was invested running our new locations. And I don't just mean financially, but as we talk about this, they're a business owner. They are committed to what we're doing. They're bought into the belief that we share. They're committed to making it work. And there was something about that we are in it together that really resonated with me. It wasn't just somebody taken another job and 2 years in, they find something better and they move on. They are in it with us, for the long term, and they want us to be successful. And just like our staff in the field, they're looking for something more in their lives, and they're looking for that in business ownership. Mm-hmm. And it's not just another job. It's a big change for them. And I think, again, all those other things about good training and process and a system is important and it's wonderful, but there was more to it about having somebody who was all in.
Yeah,
really resonated.
For sure. Now, did you explore franchising for a while? Did you go to any conferences or speak to any consultants and franchise attorney? I want to kind of get in your head of like how this whole thing came to be. What was your process for becoming a franchisor?
So it was pretty quick, to be honest. I started to look into franchising very high level. Here's some of the pros, here's some of the cons.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it differs from, typical growth and expansion plans. And through that, cross paths with our now president at Gigworx, John Reed McDonald. And I think that was really something that expedited, this mission and journey into franchising, was those conversations with him. John Reed not only has an incredible background in staffing, but in franchise staffing.
Oh, okay.
Has been in it pretty much since he was 18, worked with some very large franchise staffing organizations, and was able to share just a wealth of information about not just, the glossy high level of what's great about franchising, but really the details and all the things that we had to consider as we moved forward. There's a really unique set of rules, right, that you have to follow versus a traditional business. And so it was really eye-opening. And again, we were fortunate enough to kind of talk him into picking up the family, moving to Montana and joining the team.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a big change. Says he's never been happier. It's a beautiful place and doing something he really believes in. But that really helped to expedite our ramp too. I mean, his expertise into, setting up our training, codifying these processes that we had before, and most importantly, helping with crafting our FDD.
Right.
Resources in the industry. Again, knowing Lane Fisher, working with Fisher Zucker on our FTD. Can't stress that enough.
Yes.
It was a great experience and so critical to make sure that is dialed in as we start to talk with, Z candidates about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can talk about, the mission and the beliefs that we have, what the business looks like. But at the end of the day, you've got to get into that 150-page document, and you better feel very confident about it.
Right. Oh, you have a huge advantage then, having a president of your company with a franchise background. That's incredible. And that allows for a different kind of conversation for you as a founder, that you don't have to go with I'm not sure, I'm kind of, flying by the seat of my pants, or I'm researching, but you get to be, pilot and co-pilot together flying this thing.
It's great. Yeah. We have a lot of fun with that back and forth, just to your point, when we get into some of that stuff. We were on a call the other day and I was laughing because I'm like, John Reed, let me know, if there's something I shouldn't be talking about here, that could get us in hot water. He's like, oh, yellow pen and then the red pen. Okay.
Right.
Because I just want to talk about it all and I'm excited about it. We have to be within those boundaries.
Of course. How did you find him?
Again, staffing similar, kind of tight-knit group, small community. We're fortunate. I mean, he is also within franchising. So he was really open to talking about it and had done some really wonderful things at his last company, helped them go from, like 20 units to 90. And he was somebody who really believed in what we're doing, doing things differently, and loves building. And so we just started kind of connecting and talking and having those conversations and saying, would you entertain coming over to the gig side of things?
Right.
And, it took a little bit of time. We brought him out to Bozeman to take a look, and things just kind of fell into place. And he's just been a wonderful addition to the team.
Wow, that's phenomenal. What about starting up this franchise, the investment? Do you mind sharing with the audience? How did you fund this franchise concept together? Did you bootstrap it? Did you bring in outside investors? I'm always curious on how people got started.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of a mix, we definitely had operating income and cash from Bozeman and what was going on there and kind of rolling up into this parent company. But we also have outside investment from a larger staffing company that kind of believed in the concept as well. And so we've been really fortunate with that, being able to have that backing and being able to grow and feeling confident, as we bring on franchisees, that we have the resources to support them. We can run up a lot of expense in a short term because we take on all of our field staff and that payroll and the invoicing. So, our franchisees are recruiting people, bringing them onto Gigworx, but they are Gigworx franchising employees. So we run their payroll every week. And, we're waiting on those collections. So there can be a pretty big gap there, but we're still paying our franchisees. So it's nice to have that kind of cushion and security behind us.
Sure. You shared earlier how, before we started the podcast, that the Bozeman location is, although it's company owned, you're truly treating it as a franchise. How does it feel as a, franchisor, but it is a company owned? How does it feel to have that relationship with somebody that's running that location, which was really your baby, right?
It was hard to let go. Gigworx, I filed the paperwork August 8th. 2018, sitting in the Bozeman hospital waiting for my son to be born on the
Wow.
9th. And so, yeah, it is. I mean, and so I say that a lot of times, it's my baby, but it's about finding good people that you trust and that I've worked with. And again, I still love to get involved in the day to day, but I have to realize that that's not my role anymore. I need to step back, ask them good questions about what they're doing and what I can do for them to support them. So, it's hard, but that's one of those steps in being a leader.
Yeah.
Faith in folks and giving them the room to grow and be successful.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important that you have a place that is a proof of concept and an experience that you get to share with folks, as opposed to some franchisors that don't have any company locations and say, hey, here's how we do it. But the proof is in the pudding. You're already doing it and have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What have you and John talked about? What do you think it's going to take to build a solid foundation for those first few units?
Tenacity. We can't let up just because one unit's been successful. Mm-hmm. We are going to have to bring that same energy and attention to detail that we had when I was getting started to each and every one of these. And, I would almost argue that the stakes are higher. I have a responsibility to the people who are signing up with us, and we are going to have to be completely committed and kind of ratchet up the energy level on what we're doing with them. We're going to have to pay attention to those new markets too. I know Montana. Mm-hmm. And I know the workforce, I know the companies here, but we're going to have to really pay attention to what our franchisees are saying about their markets and make sure that we can stick to Gigworx's roots.
Sure.
But ensure that it works in these markets, because being a people-based business, you're going to have to adapt a little bit to culture there, right, to the demographic as well.
Sure. Well, speaking of markets, since the business is app-based, how are the territories designed and how big is a territory?
Yeah. So as much as we're app-based, and that's a main driver of technology, it really is a people business and staffing. So we're looking at it as not only population, but kind of available jobs in a market. So while we're kind of looking at about 250,000 in population for a market, and then it'll just kind of be geographical, doing zip codes, we're willing to talk, with new franchisees. We have a ton of markets open. There are obviously some states that we're going to avoid for regulatory issues and
sure,
how business friendly they are. Just being in the employment space, you're going to want to avoid those. But we're really open to looking at those markets and talking to candidates.
What are some of the markets that you are excited about opening? Do you have a target of a region or certain states you want to go after?
Yeah,
first?
so we're seeing some really great traction right now in Texas, in the Midwest. We've been talking to some folks in kind of these like secondary or just outside markets to major metro areas, forward thinking and not necessarily in a kind of a political way or anything like that. Sure. It's just that they're growing and they're willing to break the mold and try something new. Obviously having a university or a college is a great benefit, because you've got this perfect workforce just there and ready to go that needs flexible work around their schedule that changes semester to semester. So yeah, we've seen some great interest, outside of Austin, some Iowa folks, Ohio, Indiana. Again, we've gotten some other states and some interest, but we're just saying, no, thanks, not right now.
Sure. And that's one of the hardest things too, as a new franchisor, is saying not right now, right? Not yet, but it's super important to do that. Like you staying committed to your strategy and not because somebody called you from a certain area. I have a few acquaintances who are not in franchising that have talked about franchising their business. And one person in particular was this lady who's so excited about franchising. And I said, why do you want to franchise? She said, I have so many people that tell me that they want to own one. And I said, that is not a reason to franchise your company. You need to decide your franchising and you need to decide where they're going. She goes, well, they want to bring it to their area. I was like, that doesn't matter. And it's hard unless somebody's done the research and has been to the conferences and has talked to people to understand why we franchise. Because this is, as you know, Matt, this is not a get rich quick scheme as a franchisor at all. And we don't give a franchise to somebody because they really, really, really want one. That is not a good enough reason, let alone we don't franchise for that reason either.
I love that about Springboard as well. Just to, tie that back in, was hearing like, focus on your royalties.
Yeah.
The franchise fee should be for franchise development. And to your point, people are coming waving these checks at you. It can be really tempting. And here we go, we're off to the races, but you've got to think about that long term. How do we become that royalty sufficient organization? And everything else is just to support the growth of the business and support those new franchisees.
True. I think
don't even touch it.
Yeah, I think the greater challenge for new franchisors such as yourself is not the lack of opportunity, but I feel like we're in this new golden age of franchising. I've talked about in the podcast before, where there's an enormous amount of franchise development growth of units, and especially for new franchisors too, that I never saw before, and with competition or other industries. And we are in this new heyday, and it becomes a greater responsibility for the franchisor such as yourself to say, no, I'm good. I'm only going to open 3 this year or only open 5. And it's going to be, these people. So it's tough when people, waving that check at you.
We were doing healthcare staffing in Colorado through the pandemic, and it was great business, but some of the changes they've seen there, and that's been so hard for me because I know that market, it's close to us, but the regulatory issues and what they're doing with employment, I just said it's not going to be viable for Gigworx moving forward. We've had to say no.
Yeah, good for you. I'm curious, how does your team help franchisees gain clients?
Yeah. So again, we have kind of a unique look at this. We have 2 customers. We have, the people who send us checks and that we invoice, and then we have our staff. People have a lot of options about where they go to work. It's a highly competitive labor market. Mm-hmm. And that's really our first step, is working with our franchisees with their recruitment. We've got some great technology, I think, that makes it really efficient to do kind of this high volume hiring, but also maintain your quality. So we set them up with a very robust CRM platform in HubSpot. We love it. We've taken a little bit different approach. We're using our CRM as an applicant tracking system because it's more consumer tech. It's what people have come to expect versus some dry HR platform. And we tee them up with all the collateral there, how to do the outreach, interview techniques. And again, we bring those people on as our employees, which is a huge benefit, running the background checks, doing the onboardings, at least the paperwork component. And so that's the first big step. And then also with finding new clients, the people that we're actually going to invoice, it's right back into HubSpot. We have some really great automation tools, sales prospecting, and kind of like deals pipelines that we go in and seed and populate for them with leads. Mm-hmm. We kind of know our markets and what industries work. So we can go in and do pretty targeted searches of decision makers and populate those leads, give them, a solid playbook of here's how you reach out, here's how you pitch this, here's the collateral, and a lot of great automation tools within there that are kind of a force multiplier. It's giving them tasks to follow up and call and do in-person visits, and some of that old school stuff that still matters.
Sure.
But it couples it with email campaigns, digital marketing, social. And so that we're really getting a good presence in a market.
Well, what about your ideal franchise owner? What are the traits that you guys have identified that they need?
Yes. You've got to be sociable, right? It's a people business.
Sure.
You got to be able to talk to folks all over the place and connect. Maybe that you have very little in common with. Believe in sales. You don't have to have a sales background to do it, but you have to know that that's what kind of drives a business and a new business forward. Operations experience is certainly important. We believe in our process. We believe in managing people and being able to connect with other businesses. I think that is going to be one of the strong suits for our candidates here. Can you really connect with your business community in your area?
Yeah, that makes sense for that model. What about the thoughts of expansion for you guys through company owned and franchising? What do you and John feel philosophically on opening additional company owned locations? Is that in the cards for you guys?
It's not our focus right now. We're just so focused right now on franchising and being able to roll into other markets that way. We've discussed a couple other markets close to home here. That's one of the things too with Montana. It's like it's a little bit few and far between about opportunity. A couple more cities maybe, and that's about it. So, we're certainly open to it down the road, but right now that focus is franchising.
I mean, it's a great testament to your company to say, look, we're making it work in Bozeman, Montana. Certainly other markets like a bigger city like Austin, we know you have a lot more fish in the ocean.
Yeah, even with the growth we've seen in Bozeman, over the last 5 and 10 years, we're still sitting between 50 and 60,000 people kind of in our market here. So it's been great. And, our average growth rate over the last 3 years has been at 89%. We're really getting that kind of
Wow.
buy-in. We'll do 2 million in revenue in this unit last year. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we feel really good about it and excited to kind of share that with other folks and see their success in other markets.
From a Fran Dev standpoint, what have you guys talked about? Your thoughts on using brokers or a franchise sales organization, or you're doing sales in-house? What have you guys decided, at least for now?
Yeah, so we're not currently doing any FSO, and it was just kind of our approach to being scrappy, being small. We are doing organic and doing some broker work. We're working with IFPG.
Great.
At this point, we want to focus with one. And I know, there's a lot of conversation and talk back and forth about, brokers and broker networks, but it's been a great experience, well-connected, professional folks that know the industry. And it's been a lot of fun kind of talking to them all over the country. And then, yeah, a lot of organic, John Reed and I and our marketing team kind of targeting what our ideal candidate is. It's mostly a lot of digital outreach, and then coupling that with calls and texts and following up with people, some solid marketing collateral that we have. So it's pretty split actually right now with our candidates between what the brokers are doing and what we're doing organically. If I could make any recommendation to somebody, really dial in on what that candidate persona is that you're looking for. Be very targeted. It's a whole big world out there, and you could spend a lot of money on impressions and digital marketing to the wrong people and just have it gone. And we've been pretty fortunate to keep a modest budget, and I feel like reach some of the right people. Just like in our business with Gigworx, 53, I think, % of our staff come from word of mouth and referrals.
Wow.
We believe heavily in our referral program for candidates, on a franchising level, and we're really pushing that. It's one of the beauties of being in staffing too. We got these headhunters out there all over the country that we can say, hey, we've got this referral fee. You work with a lot of businesses. If you know somebody, it's just another job order. Send them our way.
Right.
We love the referral program as well.
Wow. And that really is going to help a new franchisee starting out too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So one of my favorite questions, of course, is like, what's your vision? How big is big? I want to know what the dream is for Gigworx.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I don't want to just keep being a stick in the mud saying we're focused on doing it right, because obviously we know that's in the short term, the focus and the goal. But I get back to that original vision that we had. We would love to be coast to coast. And again, not every coastline, but
Right.
across the country. I would love for people to be able to fire up their Gigworx app and say, hey, I'm going to be taking a month and I'm going to Utah, and I'm going to be camping and van lifing it, whatever it may be, and be able to pick up some work and go about that and kind of have that flexibility and freedom in their life. And if we could have that sort of network nationwide, that would be a dream come true. And if we could get to 50 units, that'll be a huge milestone for us. And I think then it'll be time to set our goals, sites even higher. How do we get to 100? But short term, do it right. Medium term, let's get to 50.
Fair enough. I will let you off the hook on that one then. That's cool. No, you're focused, man. What advice do you give to people that are inquiring about buying a franchise? What do you tell them?
With us or just in general?
With you guys, yeah. Like, what advice do you give to, making sure that they are potentially a right fit? I'm curious on how do you kind of send them on their way and doing research, and what are some of the highlights that you tell them?
I think one of the first things, and we've talked about it, right? Franchising is kind of a welcoming group. Give us a call. We don't really see it as a sales process. Learning about Gigworx and learning about franchising, it's a learning process. And we want to be completely upfront with you about what it takes to be successful, what we've done, and learn about you. It may not be the right fit. And it's important that everybody goes into it saying that's not a failure. That's not a no. It's just saying that, hey, maybe there's a better fit for you out there. So we love to kind of get into a high level conversation, understand people's motivations and goals, to your point, right? Like I saw it on Instagram. I thought it was a good idea. It may not be, a fully baked idea. And so we kind of slow roll it from there. And we have a process where we learn about them, tell them about ourselves. They need to know who I am, who John Reed is. It's going to be a very close partnership and kind of working relationship. And that's an important first step. From there, what does that day-to-day look like? What are you signing up for? Let's understand the FTD. Let's look at the technology. Let's look at the training and kind of build on that knowledge until we bring folks out for a discovery day here in Bozeman.
Is it a full-time commitment, or can somebody do this part-time?
We're open to the kind of semi-passive. The way we look at how people start, again, there are those two critical components to our business, our staff and our clients. And we want to have, at least as they ramp up, two folks, one that's focused on bringing in staff and one that's focused on bringing in clients. As they grow, they're going to need to add kind of a branch manager and have that sales to clients role and the sales to staff role filled. So, if they want to be semi-passive, that's great, but they need to have, again, two people full-time ready to go in the office to ramp up. And then as they grow, look to add additional people and make that kind of semi-passive. But I think most folks who are interested in franchising kind of get sucked into what we do with Gigworx because at their core, they like business. They're interested in it and these different opportunities. And I think that's something fun that we do. We've worked with hundreds of businesses in this small market. You get to learn about those people who have started them, what they do, what their process is. And sometimes you have to kind of like stay in your lane, that you can't, tell them how to run their business, even if you want to give advice and tips. Like, we just focus on providing great on-demand staff.
Sure. What's the investment range, Matt?
Yeah. So, pretty reasonable, 110 to 150.
Okay.
And, we really kind of encourage our new franchisees to start lean. I started in my basement, moved to Coworks, and I love those shared spaces. It's a little bit kind of a corollary to what we do in the gig economy, right? We're doing like shared staff in the shared economy. We can do that office space. Office space is a huge expense. It's a great way to stay lean there. And we just see that and try to have a very conservative estimate so they're covered as they ramp up to profitability.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. If someone was interested in learning more about Gigworx, where can they go?
Yeah, gigworx.com. I've got our phone numbers on there. Look us up on LinkedIn. John Reed and I are on there. You can reach out, and I think our phone numbers are even on there, our cell phones. So yeah, shoot us a text, give us a call, hit the internet. We're out there.
Nice. All right. Well, I always finish the podcast with the tip jar, and I'm not going to let you off the hook as a new franchisor because you are a franchisor and you've done your research. So I would ask you, since our franchise community is so generous, like we talked about, if I was that new franchisor, what would be a piece of advice you'd give me if I wanted to franchise my concept?
Yeah. Twofold, because the first one, a little bit of a cop out, is reach out to people, right? Ask. It's very welcoming. Don't be afraid to ask questions. People are happy to share. And then number two, get a rock solid FDD. That's going to be your foundation. Work with pros on it. Really put a lot of thought into it. As much as you do into how you package that business and how you're going to roll that out to other people, because these are kind of the rules you're going to have to live by.
Yeah. I always kind of, add, if you're going to get an attorney, make sure it's a franchise attorney, not an attorney who says, oh, I can do franchising or I do franchising. No. There's a big difference. It's like in sports. Absolutely. Somebody says I can play shortstop versus I am a shortstop. two different things.
Exactly. Accounting too, you're going to have those audits. Not
right.
Like, we had a McDonald's one time and it's like, oh,
no. Yeah. Matt, that's great advice. Well, it was great having you on the show. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best, and I'll be looking forward to watching Gigworx from afar here and seeing where this goes.
Awesome, Frank. Well, thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.